I felt a bit relieved because this is a struggle that we have been in for quite some time. You remember the Black Monday campaign that we ran, and I think for a long period of time we have been saying actually that Parliament is a crime scene. A lot of corruption has been going on there. But the corruption that is going on at Parliament, not just in the institution by officers of Parliament, but there are so many other processes which emanate even from the executive, actually have to be dealt with. So juxtaposed against the speech of the president during his swearing in, and he said this is danger of normal sleep, danger of normal corruption. Of course, I know that those same members that were in that place, after telling us that actually in corruption, both the giver and the recipient are culpable. Okay? He then went ahead and gave 100 million shillings to all the MPs there. That he actually, on the same day that he made that statement, that both the giver and the recipient are culpable in corruption, he then went ahead and committed political corruption. And he gave these members of parliament, yes.
Under what basis would you describe that as political corruption? Because
it is political corruption. You're bribing politicians. You're a politician who is bribing. Because
how sure? Bribery means that I'm giving you money for you to do something in return for me, or maybe to cover up something. Do you have any evidence whatsoever that the president gave the money for that purpose?
Yeah. I can say, you see political corruption. You see political corruption. Because you see, the president is the head of the executive. Parliament is the legislature. It is another arm. Okay. So when the president, who is the head of the executive, gives money to individuals in parliament, in the legislature, wait, an organ that is supposed to be playing an oversight function over him.
Mind you, they had not been sworn in.
But they were elected members of parliament. Okay? He's buying them in advance. And without actually telling us where that money is coming from. Okay? Because you see, we don't know whether that money, he got it from taxpayers' money. And if he got it from our taxes, he actually needs to account to us. But secondly, if he got it from his farm, okay, selling his cows, because I understand he has many cows. He has also said it himself. He needs to be able to give us his declaration of assets returns to the IGG to show us that indeed he has the capacity.
How sure are you that he does?
He has the capacity. No, I'm saying, you see, the president, okay, is the fountain of honor. He's the head of this country, okay? His declaration of assets should actually be public documents. So he should be able. Where are they? Where are they?
Unfortunately,
when the president is talking about corruption, he should be able.
Unfortunately, at the moment, it's only eyes on for the IGG. It's only the IGG who can look at those documents.
That's what
which is very unfortunate.
Because there are issues to do with privacy, but there are also issues to do with the data protection. That's an explanation that
you see, the president, even the house where he stays, is a public place, okay? Because it's State House. State House is not a private residence. State House is a public space, which we should even be knowing what's going on in State House, apart from matters to do with.
All right.
But now, let me make the last point with symptoms, okay? If you truly fight corruption holistically in this country, you need to be dealing with the entire budgeting process. Ask yourself one question. How did the budget of Parliament move from 600 billion shillings to 2 trillion shillings in just a period of 3 years? How did that happen? How did the salary of a member of Parliament, because if you do an average now, a member of Parliament takes home 75 million shillings per month, if you did an average. By the end of this term, a member of Parliament will have received between 4.5 and 5 billion shillings. If you do the average of that per month, it is 75 million shillings. Initially, it was 30 million. How did it move from 30 million 5 years back to 75 million shillings? Now, if again you look at the budget, the manner in which it has been progressing, there's a lot of money which is going in places we don't understand. We have so many ghost projects, white elephants, etc. Ask yourself the question. The money which has been going to the Obore Specialized Hospital, Pinet, where is the hospital? It is now almost 10 years. Listen, the attacks of this world. So at the point, and see what? And the other 10 members of parliament went there, and they were chased away. So the point I'm making, let me finish now. Let me conclude on this. Let me just conclude on this. Let me conclude on this. It would actually be interesting, okay, for us to receive accountability for the money that is going to attack, to Inspire Coffee, to Amina in northern Uganda, to Magola, Day Farmer, the money that is going in OWC, the money that is going in PDM, like we get comprehensive accountability,
all right,
because that is where a lot of money is actually going.
All right.
Then we shall know that indeed we are interested in fighting corruption. Otherwise, we are just dealing with symptoms and we are not dealing with the root.
So, very quickly, your rejoinder, response to some of the comments that have been brought out by your colleagues here on the table.
Might say it about treating the symptoms, treating the pain, and not finding out
the disease.
If you have headache and you take Panadol because you have treated because of that headache, that's what we are doing with corruption. And maybe to add that we have limited this corruption into the people that have been making billions. It should be beyond that. If you are a public officer and your official time in office is 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, whatever it should be, you come at 9, you come at 11, you leave at 1, that is also corruption. And all this should also be going not only to the people that have been already arrested. I am happy that yes, some changes have been made, some attempts have been made by the operation you have said, but it is not enough.
What do you mean it is not enough?
To the extent that we have not touched the root cause of what is causing all this corruption.
What is the root cause?
Causing all this embezzlement.
Secondly, wait. Secondly, wait, I'm asking, please tell me, where did the NRM get the money from and how much did they spend on the campaign? And then number two,
okay,
you're talking about 13 billion shillings. A total of 40 billion shillings, when we did the math, was given out to those MPs.
Yes.
So 40 minus 13 leaves you with 27 billion.
Yes.
Where did the surplus 27 billion come from?
So let me answer the first question. The first question you said, how did the NRM get the billion shillings that is spent?
The first question is how much?
How much? How much I cannot be certain on this show. But I am very certain that the NRM can source for any funds just enough to make them win the election from its partners, from its business friends, from its members. So that is, a political party can source for money. It's not an offense. But also secondly, you are saying that if the NRM, the president gave money, mind you, the president did not give 100 million. He gave each MP as a deposit of 20 million.
Out of how much?
Yes.
How much did he commit?
It's all right. I think we need to move on.
By the way, Tony,
yes,
the NRM is supposed to provide returns to the Electoral Commission on how much they spent on the campaigns and where they got it from. Has that been done?
All right. Let's go back to Mr. Lutaya. Mr. Lutaya, conclude your point.
Let me tell him how maybe I'm going to be generic.
Yes.
But I need to come out maybe clear about NRM here. But I'll be generic.
And be clear.
Okay, I'll be generic, but of course there are so many ways how all political parties. I'm being truthful.
Let him. You're protected, Mr. Lutaya.
And be very clear. NRM, like any other party, has statutory government funding under the political parties and organizations. Now, that is one. It gets its money through that channel. Of course, like NUP MPs remit money. NRM has members, the biggest number in the parliament, and they do monthly remittances. You get it? Because they're on that what? They're on that card. Internal primary nomination fees. Those could be also additional funds collected during the what? And of course, like he said, high-end fundraisings, where the well-wishers can come in, and also, you see, we have a challenge to believe that it's only the opposition that will always have what? Funds through being given, and you know.
You want to make.
So that can be. But back to the other point, Anderson.
Do you want us to finish that point?
Can you allow me to conclude?
Who can finish it?
Conclude your point.
Because you said generic and clear. You've been generic, you've not been
And
clear.
they said you
So
get
the NRM, through those sources.
Job, I'm not going
money.
to allow you to ask that question.
Through those sources, the NRM is able to obtain money that the president.
I recall vividly well that when the speaker was being exposed, plus the other people in parliament, okay, were being exposed in this corruption around parliament, and she was actually sanctioned by the US, UK, and whatever. The president appeared on a public platform, okay, and he defended viciously the Speaker of Parliament on these allegations, and he was defending her from the anti-corruption crusaders, saying these are agents of imperialists. Okay,
Was giving here.
President
wait,
He was giving here.
I don't care whether
Let's allow Job to make his point. Let's allow Job to make his
But
point.
all I am saying, and that's why when I talk about political will, this is what I'm referring to. It's on record. At least if you search on Google, wherever, you'll find this evidence there. The president viciously defended the speaker.
Actually, it was in Bukit there when they were
Bukit,
officially
yes.
opening up that sports stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the president really defended the speaker. So you can't come here and start convincing me that the president reacted to this public campaign that was ongoing and acted. Secondly,
Maybe he got more information later and changed his mind.
That's what I want to tell you.
So you see,
Because,
the president indeed, by the way,
after that, we saw the president meeting the British High Commissioner, but also writing letters to different entities to establish if Anita Among had a house in London and so forth.
So let me make this point, okay? That people were harassed during that crusade against the corruption at Parliament. People were locked actually up to now. They think they're on bail. Kato, you are their lawyer, not so?
Yeah,
have the charges been dropped? And actually,
none of the files actually proceeded. They were all dismissed for want of prosecution.
they were all, but I meant to understand there's actually someone who was locked up and is still in. I need to find the name. Machete or something, like, I don't know.
But she's not to the...
Machete is not connected.
Okay, anyway, I need to check, but it's all the anti-corruption
There was,
procedures, all the charges were dropped. Okay, but the point I'm making is this, Tony. That, you know, by now, the president actually, in order for him to encourage citizens, because apparently, fighting corruption is not for the president alone, it is for all of us, okay? But you know, when for us, we come out to fight corruption, what are we seeing? We are seeing people arrested. By the way, the people who were, I think I told you are their lawyer, you can confirm here. Some of those people said actually they were violated in the process of arrest and even detention. There are stories as hearing. I would like to verify them one day. But you know, and this is on public record. So the president by now should be saying, you know what, you anti-corruption crusaders, by the way, we are sorry. The Agoras you are talking about, you said that the president wrote to them a love letter recently. I would like to see the president actually come out and publicly really...
Kenyas?
No, forfeiture of property is not yet there. We don't have a loan asset recovery. Actually, what we have is that you can, I think the fine is a maximum of 75 million shillings. So actually, which law is that? Which law?
Even the
Does it have, does
the
forfeiture?
IGD has the power to forfeit the property.
Okay, but you see...
Recently, in Mitiana movement, something has been, you know?
Which one?
Mitiana.
Which case? Okay.
Okay, make your point. Make your point.
Yeah. So I think really you need to strengthen the law such that you make it really unattractive to engage in corruption.
All right.
Because if you engage in corruption, and all you can serve is 14 years, and after the 14 years, you can... I saw there's a guy who has 14 billion on the charge sheet. So 14 billion, you can say 1 billion per year. I mean, if I can, I can see that man and I go. Final point. My colleagues here, Tony and Moses. I asked a question about the money that NRM spent, and you actually said you really said so many things. You spoke generically, and you failed to be specific.
They try to point out where NRM gets its money.
They try to point out, but you see, I look at Tony. Actually, I listened to your answer. Now I'm giving you. My analysis.
He's giving his rebuttal.
Yeah, I'm giving him my rebuttal. Now, you see, I take Moses and Tony to be people that should be privy to certain information in the NRM, such that you don't come here and start talking generically. Because you should actually be telling us that, you know, for these elections, the NRM collected this much money from members. It collected this much money from selling cards. It collected this much money from donations of business partners. And so this is the amount of money. You shouldn't even be waiting for the filing. And then spent this, okay? And this is the balance. And in that regard, this balance, we had nothing to spend it on. Interestingly, you don't even have an NRM house. Okay? You've been talking about building an NRM house. You don't have it, but you're giving away money. To members of parliament who are going to be earning 75 million shillings per month. And let me make the final thing I'm going to say about this corruption. The final thing I'm going to say about this is a comment that was made by Muhaire from Saudi Arabia. He tried to vulgarize the point that I made about MPs earning an average of 75 million shillings. I want to help him understand how you make averages. And I didn't talk about salary. I said earning. Whether they are emoluments or whatever, a vehicle, we are meant to understand that next week or the other, they will be receiving 300 million shillings of vehicles. Okay? If you get the 300 million plus the money they get for wardrobe, house rent, fuel, and whatever, and you sum all it up together, by the end of this term, they're going to have received.
Some spent months are there. The point I want you to understand is that even what they say is not what they do. They say something different and do something. The will from the politicians, including the head of the state of this country, is not to fight corruption. When you talk about the process and the time that you need to take, Moses, I want you to be realistic and understand that from the time the NRM made the 10-point program, fighting corruption is now. How many years down the road? Do we still need time?
40 plus.
Do we still have the process that we are building 40 years plus? From the 10-point program, it is number 6. To remind you about it. But there is a listener here who made a comment in terms of how do we make these things look time religious. Problem we have here is that a corrupt person is caught or arrested. You will see his religious members come out, including the archbishops and the rest heading the congregation, that you see this is our person, yes, he's corrupt, he's a thief, but we stand with him. You will see the religious leaders, you will see people from different regions, different tribes surrounding him. This is our
surprisingly, even lawyers stand with them.
Even lawyers,
I
don't want to talk about lawyers because lawyers are exercising to represent their clients, not that they are not.
The others are also exercising their right to associate.
This is our thief. because he's a Catholic. This is our seat because he's a Protestant. This is our seat because he's a Muslim.
They actually
will
don't
even
say
go to
that.
the
They say this
they
is
go.
our fellow
They will
congregant.
say this one is a Mnyankore. He's our seat, but he's a Mnyankore. They will parade buses to come here. Tony can testify that when these people that were
Why parade buses?
No. At least you were around the anti-corruption court that time when the scandal was there. You saw buses that came from different regions, escorted different candidates who are politicians supporting this. But by the time we don't start actually to isolate ourselves from these thieves and corrupt, not fight corruption. Because these corrupt people come from our homes, they come from our districts, they come from our regions, and this is how we end up shielding them. And they will have the urge of stealing more because they want to appease you when they attend church because you are making a fundraising to build the church, and these are the thieves because they have a lot of money. They will be given front seats.
All right.
But if you avoid all this and hold them accountable, because the Constitution, Article 17, gives us that as a duty as citizens to combat corruption. But if you side with the corrupt people and the thieves, then you are failing your duty, and that should be punishable by the law.
Right.
Until we identify and understand that that's what we need to do, corruption is still here.
All right. Anyway, that could be a discussion another day. Let's pick up from there.